The Sundays were an English alternative rock band. The band formed in the late 1980s and released 3 albums in the 1990s. Career. The band's beginnings came with the meeting of Harriet Wheeler and guitarist David Gavirin at university. Wheeler had played gigs with Cruel Shoes, an early incarnation of the band Jim Jiminy. The duo soon augmented the band with bassist Paul Brindley and drummer Patrick Hannan. The Sundays secured a recording contract with Rough Trade Records. Their debut single was Can't Be Sure. Their first album, Reading, Writing and Arithmetic, was released in 1990, along with their next single Here's Where the Story Ends. The album was a UK top 5 hit. With Rough Trade's financial troubles and the band's decision to manage themselves, the Sundays' next single, Goodbye, did not emerge until 1992. Their next album, Blind, arrived the same year, reaching the UK top 15. The Goodbye B-side, a cover of the Rolling Stones' Wild Horses, also appeared on the US release of Blind as well as in the movie Fear and on the 1999 soundtrack album for the popular television series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The band toured in support of these recordings. In 1997 their third album, Static and Silence, was followed by the release of their most successful single to date, Summertime, which made the UK top 15. The album itself reached the UK top 10. However, the band has been on a lengthy hiatus since those releases, with Wheeler and Gavirin focusing on raising their 2 children. History. 1988, formation vocalist Harriet Wheeler and guitarist David Gavirin met as students at Bristol University in the mid-1980s. Wheeler was from Reading, the daughter of an architect and a teacher, and studied English literature. Gavirin was from Wembley and actively pursued a degree in the Romance languages, particularly French and Spanish. The two fell in love and began living together. Following graduation they wrote music in their free time while collecting unemployment benefits. Except for Wheeler's vocal duties in a band called Jim Jiminy, the couple had no musical background. Commenting on his desire to compose, Gavirin said, "It was something I'd always wanted to do, although I never wanted to be in a band when I was younger, like many kids do. It just dawned on me gradually." Wheeler displayed similar feelings. "There was never a time I wanted to be incredibly famous, or in a pop group," she said. "It just seemed a great thing to do, to spend time working on something that's your own." After the couple completed several songs and migrated to London they enlisted the support of bassist Paul Brindley and drummer Patrick Hannan, who had also attended Bristol University. The band chose the name The Sundays as it was the only one everyone could agree upon. Demo tapes were sent out to several London clubs after the group felt energized by their efforts. Gavirin stated in a Rolling Stone interview that, "By the end of the year we were thinking, hang on a minute, some of this music is good." Responses to the tape were enthusiastic and an employee at Vertigo Club offered the band an opening slot for an upcoming show in August 1988. "By chance there were 3 reviewers from the top music papers there," said Wheeler. "They were supposed to review the main band, but instead they wrote about us." The group subsequently became the focus of a record label bidding war, which author Peter Buckley described as a frenzy. They eventually signed with Rough Trade Records and had a distribution deal signed for the United States with DGC Records. 1989 1990, Reading, Writing and Arithmetic The Sundays released their first single Can't Be Sure in January 1989, which topped British indie charts and received acclaim as one of the best singles of 1989. The group performed 3 songs in a session with popular disc jockey John Peel. These songs would later turn up on their debut album, Reading, Writing and Arithmetic. The group worked on their debut for over a year. "A lot of bands who get signed, who have been playing the circuit for years, have 30 songs for the first album," said Gavirin. "But we didn't have enough for our first album, let alone our second. We can't write to deadline. You can't force a whole load of songs out quickly." Responding to whether the band felt pressured when working on the album, Wheeler responded, "No, because to start off with, we're far more critical of ourselves than anyone else, and that's more a concern to us than what the press think. Gavirin also commented the main pressure we felt was with the single, and even then, we thought, well, they're either going to like it or they're not, and there's not much we can do to influence that. Reading, Writing and Arithmetic was released in April 1990 and became a commercial success, reaching No. 4 on the UK charts and peaking at number 39 on the Billboard 200 in the United States. It would later go on to sell over 500,000 copies worldwide. Critical reception was very positive. Rolling Stone writer Ira Robbins referred to it as an alluring slice of lighter-than-air guitar pop, a collection of uncommonly good songs graced by Harriet Wheeler's wondrous singing. The single Here's Where the Story Ends was particularly successful in the USA due to radio play and MTV rotation. The Sundays devoted nearly a year to an exhausting promotional tour, which encompassed America, Europe, and Japan. The tour was considered successful, though it wasn't without some mishaps. A London show had to be rescheduled due to Wheeler losing her voice, and the group experienced some bemusement when a Dallas, Texas show was advertised with the slogan "See the Sundays on Sunday with Ice Cream Sundays." 1991 Euro 1993, Blind equals, the band experienced some hardships leading up to the recording of their second album. In 1991 Rough Trade Records went bankrupt, which caused the band to sign with Parlophone Records in the UK. Their debut went out of print in the UK and would stay that way until 1996. Constant touring coupled with their decision to manage themselves hampered the group's creative output, which was already slow due to Gavirin and Wheeler, the main songwriters, being chained by pokiness and perfectionism when it came to writing and recording music. Additionally, the band kept a low public profile, which fueled rumors that the group had disbanded. The Sundays eventually released a new single, Goodbye, a minor hit, in autumn 1992. The release came almost 3 years after their last UK show. Their next album, entitled Blind, was finally released in October 1992. The album experienced commercial success similar to their debut when it peaked at number 103 on the Billboard 200, and sold nearly 500,000 copies. Critical reception was also positive, but some critics thought the album lacked the quality songwriting of its predecessor. Despite Blind's initial appeal with audiences, it drifted off the charts by the summer of 1993. The Sundays toured Britain in winter of 1992. The shows were rapturously received by fans starved of fresh product or gigs. An American tour was greeted with sold-out shows. Gavirin explained that they weren't necessarily attempting to promote the new album. A lot of people didn't see us the first time we played over here, and they want to hear earlier material. So we're playing half and half. In the end the tour was cut short in light of exhaustion and homesickness. 1994 Euro 1997, Static and Silence equals, the band holidayed in Thailand and decided to take a break upon returning to England. It would be 5 years before another album was released. During this time the only appearance of the band was their cover of Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones appearing in a 1994 American television commercial. Gavirin and Wheeler expressed a desire to settle down. The couple got married and gave birth to a baby daughter named Billy in February 1995. They also built a recording studio in their home, not only to save on the cost of renting a studio, but to expand their creative freedoms. Their third, and so far final, album, Static and Silence, was released in the autumn of 1997 to mixed reviews. Although the band retained much of the same sound that they'd developed on previous albums, they added horns to a number of tracks for Static and Silence. Although the album as a whole was not as successful as Reading, Writing and Arithmetic, one of the singles from Static and Silence, Summertime, became their most successful hit to date on the UK charts. However, on the US charts, the single, though it made it to the 10th spot on the US alternative rock charts, was only the Sunday's third most successful single, lagging significantly behind Here's Where the Story Ends, and Love. 2014, Possible Return equals, in April 2014, Adam Pitluck, the editor of American Airlines magazine American Way, tracked down and conducted an interview with Wheeler and gave urine in which he put forward the idea of a reunion. The response to this was as follows: firstly, to unregistered trademark SC, if the music we unregistered trademark free currently writing ever sees the light of day, and then we can get on to the enjoyable globe-trotting meets concert planning stage. On October 10, 2014, during an interview on BBC Radio 6 Music's Radcliffe and Mackney radio programme, David Baddiel described Dave Gavurin as his oldest mate, and stated that they, Dave and Harriet, are doing music, but whether they ever put that out there, unregistered trademark, they no idea. They're the most paranoid people about actually putting stuff out there. Fans who have seen the Sundays live will remember hearing one or two tracks that were never released. Something More and Turkish featured in many of their sets, but the only copies are live bootlegs. Band members: Harriet Wheeler, a Euro vocalist, a Euro born June 26, 1963. David Gavurin, a Euro guitarist, a Euro born April 4, 1963. Paul Brindley, a Euro bassist, a Euro born November 6, 1963. Patrick Hannan, a Euro drummer, a Euro born March 4, 1966, Lymington, Hampshire. Discography Studio albums Singles B-sides, unreleased songs Can't Be Sure, Demo, Don't Tell Your Mother, Gone, Here's Where the Story Ends, Black Session, Here's Where the Story Ends, Live, I Kicked a Boy, Life Goes On, Noise, Nothing Sweet, Skin and Bones, Live, So Much, Something More, Through the Dark, Turkish, Wild Horses, You're Not the Only One I Know, Demo. References